Let's get one thing clear as we go into this video. Cheating is for bastards. I'm pretty sure Gandhi said that. This video is of course not looking to glorify cheating, nor is it looking to deep dive into the pop psychology of why someone might cheat, what their reason or rationale would be. It goes without saying that some individuals will go out of their way to get an underhanded advantage at a game of cardboard wizard slinging spells. It's straight. I guess there are prizes on the line for the things that we're talking about, and glory too. But let's not get bogged down with that. It is an unfortunate part of our game. Much like I talked about in the 40k cheating video, which I'll link in the description below in the cards, it's an inevitability when you're playing a game where it doesn't rely on a rigid video game structure, and even then people cheat, right? People will try and get sleight of hand benefits when playing against you. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 of the biggest and most prominent examples of cheating in Magic, for those of you that may not be familiar with them. Some of you might know these 3 stories already, or might not know the full details, so I hope it's interesting and informative. Today, we're going to be looking at 2 explorers, Bertoncini, Hall of Famer and much championed greatest player of all time, the cheating Watanabe, and Chad Energy Cheater, Mr. Long. Anyone who sits on their chair like this during a game is at the very least going to be an awful experience to play against. We don't want to see your thighs, Mike. I was apprehensive in the warm-up video to name and shame people. I'm new to that space, I'm new to competitive 40k, and competitive 40k has an even worse relationship with its casual crowd than Magic does. It's almost like a fucking binary divide. But with this, I'm much more comfortable. I've been entrenched in this game. 2 out of the 3 of them were happening when I was super into the game. I've been into this game for 15 plus years in terms of going to events and shit like that. So, I'm gonna not name and shame. This isn't a heroic thing. I'm not bringing up things that no one knows about. But I'm happy to talk about those names because these people should be banned for life and should probably never be trusted again in a game of Magic the Gathering. And that's something again that I'm just gonna preload into this video. I believe in redemption in the grand scheme of things, but when it comes to like competitive card games and war games and shit, I'm much more keen that if someone has definitely cheated, there's no fucking shadow of a doubt, then ban them for long periods of time. If you do it again, ban them for life. Some of these people got away with this shit for way too fucking long. Right, let's get to business and talk about some fucking cheaters, shall we? Let's start with the most memeable, the most, I want to say iconic, but I'd rather use the term infamous, because I don't think Alex Bertoncini deserves the term iconic. Alex Bertoncini, also known as Alex Bertoncini. That's right, you know you fucked up when people cannot say your name without portmanteauing it with the word cheat. Oh, Alex, you fucker. Alex Bertoncini is so famous at this point for cheating at Magic on and off camera that everything he's ever done in Magic when he's not banned is shrouded in accusations of shadiness, underhandedness, and literal fucking cheating. But he has 2 famous examples of his cheating, of his game rule violation breaking to his own advantage, caught on camera back in 2011-2012 sort of time, back in the golden halcyon days of SCG coverage. And that really does solidify him as one of the goats of cheating. He's so used to it, it's so second nature to him, it's such an instinct to him that he can't turn it off when there's a fucking camera pointed at it. It's similar to how I'm really good looking and you know it, because I just can't turn it off, baby. Example 1, 2 explores. 10 years ago, Alex Bertoncini Face was playing a match at a Star City Games Open Series event, back when Star City hadn't fired everyone, dropped all coverage and content people cared about, and given in to not giving a fuck about safety regulations at the post-pandemic events as well. That might be a very topical joke for a video that should be quite evergreen. I'm going to leave it in. On turn 2, Alex plays land for turn, so he's got 2 lands, and plays a copy of Explore. This allows him to draw a card as it says on Explore, and then play an additional land for the turn. It breaks the fundamental rules of the game, allowing you to play an extra land drop. He goes up to 3. He draws that card, plays a land, and passes back to his opponent. His opponent is doing things with Carly Heart Garden, but it's largely irrelevant what our opponent's up to in terms of game actions for this story. Alex then proceeds to untap, play a land, and cast another copy of Explore. Nothing strange here yet. He draws his card and makes his second land drop for the turn off of the Explore, the 5th of the game. He's now played all his lands at this point. He then casts a Preordain, a cantrip that allows him to look at the top 2 cards of his library and put them on top of the bottom via scrying and then draw a card. Interestingly, I feel that the way he picks up his deck here to put the cards on the bottom is a little bit suspect, as he can get a full glimpse of the information of what is on the bottom of his deck. A very minor cheat to give you info on whether a 1-of is lower in the deck or whether you want to shuffle and get one of your 4-ups at the top and that sort of thing. It's still a cheat, but it's minor compared to what comes next. After the preordain is resolved, he checks to see if he has a land drop for turn, as if he might have drawn the land he needed from the preordain. He counts on his fingers, he checks the 2 explores in the graveyard and confirms with his opponent that he can play 1 more land, because in theory, according to him, he's played 2 explores this turn. His opponent agrees. There is an element of misdirection here, taking other actions after casting the 2nd explore, the preordain for example, where his opponent's down the tank thinking about his next turn, and then coming back to the explores and misconstruing that he's cast 2 this turn. It's easy to see how his opponent might have got confused. Hell, there's an argument that perhaps he is confused too, but in all fairness, he's such a consistent cheater that I don't think those arguments stand up. He continues to make his 6th land drop, 1 more than possible with the current board state. He is now cheated. However, what makes this a really, really iconic example, or a famous example of cheating in Magic, is that it was caught on camera and the cameraman wasn't giving any fucks. He was a hero here. The person filming leans in and observes this and asks, "What turn is it?"
What turn is it?
Burton Bonchiti Pants over here simply says 2 explores.
2 explores.
Not answering the question, and in fact explaining that actually this current board state is illegal. It could not have been obtained via the use of 2 explores on turn 3. That'd be 5 lands, not 6. Even I can do that and I'm shit at maths. Our hero behind the camera continues to probe. Turn 3 though, he asks, because 3 land drops plus 2 explores is 5.
Boom, boom, quick maths.
Our camera hero does the math out loud for them, and even his opponent leans in to say, he's good, he allows it. In the words of the worst possible people around, got him. Look, there is an argument that people make mistakes and that Magic is confusing and that it's a complicated game. Hell, there's a lot of tanking about what's going on in the future, especially if this is like a scape shift matchup or whatever. I'm not sure if it was standard or modern at the time. But there's a lot of forward thinking going on that can confuse you. It can get you into the weeds. Sometimes you can get tunnel vision and make mistakes. There's a video on this channel of Commander between me and Rob where we're chatting away and I'm fucking about with Warhammer models, and I cast a 4 mana spell, don't tap my lands, and then go on to cast a 5 mana spell in the same turn, spending 9 mana on turn 5. The point I'm getting at is that I didn't do that to get an advantage in a tournament. That was 2 friends fucking about and me making an honest mistake in front of like 20,000 people and multiple people noticing it. These things happen. Bertoncini actually caught an 18th month ban for multiple game rule violation, like disqualifications and issues around this time, but not before we get our second example of on-screen cheating. The case of 3 jellyfish. Bertoncini is up against the wall here. A match from 2011. Again, he's absolutely fucked. The commentators are joking, this includes Brian Kibler on commentary here, shout out to Brian Kibler, about how he doesn't have much of a chance at all unless his opponent completely bricks and he draws like a god. He plays a Kira, a creature that requires 2 effects to kill it. The first one is to pop the protective shield text, where it basically it counts as the first thing that targets it, and then the second effect can then kill it. The opponent uses the down tick of Jace the Mind Sculptor here to bounce the Kira. Of course it doesn't, it just pops the shield and gets countered, and then Kira is killed by the Cursed Scroll activation, Cursed Scroll being a common control finisher at this time in Legacy. Kira goes to the graveyard, she is fucking dead. Bertoncini has a second copy of Kira, plays it and passes back. Our opponent rinses and repeats after some other game actions, down-ticking Jace and shooting the Kira with a scroll. This leads Alex to put the Kira back into his hand and not into the graveyard, which is a sequence that just happened mere moments ago. Now, in all fairness, Vidianto had just played a Caracas, and Jace does usually bounce stuff to the top, to your hand, sorry, so there may be some brain farts going on. I have made mistakes like in the past, but everyone does. But you've literally just done this sequence, this whole fucking rodeo just transpired all but 40 seconds ago, and then you make this mistake here, when it advantages you to give you room to draw out of the issues you're in? A pattern is emerging. He's not talking to anyone here, he's just in the tank with his face inside his t-shirt. You'd think this wouldn't happen. Vidianto plays another Jace and fate seals Alex, so we don't know what Alex will draw here, but the commentators do have deck list. Alex plays his 3rd copy of Kira, and one of the commentators comments that he should only have 2. But they obviously, goodwill and things, don't pick him up on this, they don't stop the game. There's also potential that the deck lists are wrong and stuff. Like, you always give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's how cheaters get away with this shit. We repeat the same sequence again, and Alex almost puts it back into his hand again. I don't know if this is just him. Is he genuinely making mistakes here? Or is he trying... He's thinking, oh, should I try it again? No. 4 copies of Kira when I only play 2? That's not gonna fly. Hell, there's a camera above my head. Like I said, Alex was banned around this time for disqualifications, continuing issues, game rule violations that end up being in his favor. When I say game rule violation, just to clarify that, it's where you have took an action that shouldn't have happened. For example, the cure to hand or the extra land drop and stuff. It's just a game rule violation, a GRV. They are a problem, full stop. If they're advantaging you, then they're obviously a huge fucking problem. And when they're happening over and over and over, that's when you get disqualifications and bannings happening. I did a bit of digging, and Alex's second ban was in 2013. More GRVs, game rule violations, where you make these mistakes regularly. Supposedly the one that he was caught for, or most prolifically caught for in 2013, was not having the mana to cast things like Supreme Verdict, but he just tapped 4 lands anyway. Didn't need double white, just tapped 4 lands, and off you go, casting it to resolve it and stabilize the game, or perhaps win the game off the back of it. Like I said, if your mistakes are always making you win, that is a telltale sign that the mistakes might be on purpose. After his 3-year ban, he was back again in 2017 to GPLA, where he... Tom Martell and other personalities and pros were saying and tweeting at the time that they knew he was already doing shady shit in the early rounds of this GP. People knew he was up to shit straight away because everyone's watching this man like a hawk. When he made the top 8 of GPLA in 2018, there were audible boos in the hall. People booed the announcement. That's pretty fun. All of this called into question why someone with such a prolific history of fucking up and taking advantage from it, from literally cheating, was allowed to play in competitive events of Grand Prix and higher. Like, maybe let him come back to the game and play at FNM, maybe, but to be able to, you know, call into question the sanctity or the dignity of this fucking thing is dumb. He should never have been allowed to compete in the first place. Eventually, Alex Bertoncini took a lifetime ban in 2019, something that was championed for and cheered on by the community. The exact ins and outs of why are not actually abundantly clear. I couldn't find concrete rationale from Wizards that announced this stuff, but it's pretty fair to assume that the compounding reports, bans, and disqualifications will eventually, and it takes some fucking time, but will eventually get Wizards to take action and get you booted out of Magic. From GP cheating shark to one of the greatest players of all time. Let's talk about Yuya Watanabe for a second. One of the few players to win Player of the Year more than once. He was the 2012 World Champion, the 2017 World Magic Cup winner alongside Team Japan, runner-up and second place seat at 2 different Pro Tours, both Pro Tour Return to Ravnica and Pro Tour Amonkhet, and 3 other top 8 finishes at Pro Tours. He's won first place 7 Grand Prix, which makes it, again, he is drawing first place for most Grand Prix ever won with 2 other players. He entered the Hall of Fame in 2016 because this man is meant to be really fucking good at Magic. However, sadly, he called all that into question and honestly brought into question the integrity of the competitive game and talents and achievements of other pros too when he was caught cheating at the Mythic Championship 2 in London of 2019. I was at the event. I remember hearing about the disqualification, which was quite shocking because Watanabe is a name that most people know if they're into competitive Magic. And then as the details unfolded and came out over the course of the weekend through murmurings and rumours and whispers and eventually an announcement and then an apology from him, or I say an apology, an excuse-ridden post, whew, it was quite a scandal. Oh god, it's such a scandal it made my asthma play up. Marked cards. Marked cards is an infraction which suggests that your sleeves are damaged or marked in a way that leads to you having an advantage in a game of Magic. That is, well, done intentionally, of course. Yuya was playing Tron at that Mythic Championship, a deck that looks to assemble a power plant, a tower, and a mine to make 7 mana, instead of the usual 3 that you get from 3 other normal lands. This allows you to make crazy plays, like playing a 7 mana Khan on turn 3, and taking over the game from there. Tron usually uses card selection like Ancient Stirring, or tutors like Map, to find the combo, and sometimes you can get lucky though and have a god hand. You just have the 3 Tron lands in hand, plus a payoff. It's called natural Tron is the term often used. It is essentially a god hand. And that's what makes Tron so frustrating to play against, because sometimes you're playing a deck that's got a good matchup in some ways. You're playing Ghost Quarters and Leonin Arbiters like I often do, and you'll disrupt maps and other effects, Sylvan Scryings and such, but then your opponent will just have the god hand, the natural draw of Tron land, Tron land, Tron land, Khan. And you're like, well, fuck me then, I guess. And as you can see here, these pictures released of Watanabe's power plants, all at the bottom left corner having been damaged, bent, or dented with a fingernail. All of his towers have a similar marking, but on a different corner. All the towers have the same corner, but a different corner to what the power plant does, suggesting that this is not damage from shuffling or folding of the corner during shuffling. These are different corners that are damaged depending on which land it is telling you it is. There is no doubt in my mind that these are marked cards. This would allow Yuya to see when he's shuffling his deck whereabouts his Tron lands were. It would allow him to, even after a cut, to be able to tell, like, you know, I've got a clump of the 3 down here and a 3 up there, so when it gets cut, I've got a likelihood of them being in the top. It allows you to manipulate your deck in a way to be more consistent in ways that are just not allowed in Magic because you haven't sufficiently randomized your deck. It also allows you to know what your next draws are, whether to crack your map or go to draw step and draw the land that's coming on top first, and so on, and so on. It gives huge amounts of advantage that is unfair. Yu's official statement says that he changed sleeves as a ritualistic get out of a rut after a loss moment at the end of round 12 of the event. He explains that multiple deck checks happened by judges and only on a 3rd inspection did they find the issue. He got DQ'd shortly before he went into the top 8 of the event. He makes claims that he doesn't know how they got this way and that perhaps it was through consistent tutoring that damaged the cards. Any Magic the Gathering player worth half their salt, including Yuya Watanabe, will know that tutoring for specific cards doesn't damage sleeves like this, especially in differing corners, the way that you handle your deck and such. It's an excuse. Yuya's case in particular is heartbreaking because it begs the question, was he always doing this kind of shit? Were all of his achievements completely bollocks, or just some of them? Without getting into the psychology of it, was it a pressure to continue to perform that did this? Was it something he was doing from the beginning? It's also harmful to all the players that he's played against. Not only the ones that he has, you know, now drawn their legitimacy into question, because people now think that a lot of the top pros might be cheating. But think about the other people who are playing legitimately and he knocked out of events, or beat to top 8s, or won against, who he took money from. Many thieveries, many robberies throughout his career that might have been done by cheating that we never caught up until this moment. It's a real fucking shame. Yeah, and like I said, beyond that, the integrity of the game at large comes under a microscope. I do think at the higher level of the game where teams of judges investigate this stuff, it's quite rare to have cheats like this happening, but it does beg the question what other pros' careers are propped up by the added consistency of being a massive fucking cheater. Let's round out this video with something a bit more upbeat and silly. Let's talk about a classic cheater from the fucking old days, before I was into Magic. Let's talk about Mike Long. Mike Long, bad sitting extraordinaire. Mike Long is a name, by the way, seems to breed cheaters. Both Pokemon and bass fishing both have cheating Mike Longs, but apparently not the same guy. The only explanation is a glitch in the Matrix. Mike Long was a prominent, short-wearing, squat-engaging player in early pro Magic. He was making waves and sitting uncomfortably on chairs back when sleeves weren't a thing. When people were bridge shuffling unprotected dual lands and unknowingly lowering the future net worth by hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, as cards went from mint to absolutely fucked over the course of 1 or 2 events. Let's keep in mind then, it was a different time. Cheating was a lot more prevalent, there were not things in place to stop it, Magic was relatively new, but much like when you say it was a different time to excuse, I don't know, verbal racism that comes from systemic racism, it still doesn't excuse the initial issue of, like, you know, being a dickhead is always being a dickhead. Loads of motherfuckers were cheating back then, but Mike Long is perhaps the most iconic. Keep in mind, this is way before my time. This is completely recollected through other people's accounts. I wasn't there for it happening, nor was I even following Magic on the internet at the time, so I have no anecdotal experience of this myself. There are many rumors and stories of Mike Long floating around on the internet, but there are 2 that I want to focus on. One is not a cheat, but often construed as a cheat, and one that is a fucking big cheat. The first is a huge bluff from Mike Long. Around the time of his biggest cheat, he was playing a combo deck, where you used Cadaverous Bloom and squandered resources to make a shitload of mana on a big turn, then essentially burn out your opponent with a drain life. Prosperity was a draw engine that fueled the Bloom some more, and well, I've not played against the deck or played with the deck, so I'm talking again a lot from anecdotes from other people's experiences, but it's a big combo deck nonetheless. The deck doesn't really exist in any form now in older formats. It's a relic of a bygone age. As Gavin Verhey, that Gavin Verhey himself noted in an SCG article he wrote back in 2011 before he worked for Wizards, Mike Long was only playing 1 copy of Drain Life in his deck, when most were playing 3. Some might think this is weird that you'd play only 1 copy of your win condition, the end combo card, instead of 3 copies because you want to consistently draw it. But with engines like Prosperity, and you see this in modern combo decks too, where you draw through your deck or you tutor through your deck, you don't need to have more than 1 copy of the finisher. Hell, having a copy of your finisher in your hand early in the game might end up bogging you down, not giving you the ability to interact with your opponent or assemble your combo through cantrips and similar. So only playing one copy to draw when you need it, when you draw your whole deck or most of your deck, is smart. In some ways, Mike Long was an innovator. This sort of stuff is quite common in combo decks of today, in Storm and Doomsday and such. I don't know if Mike Long is the originator of that concept, but I'm just saying that because he was only playing one, that wasn't really that strange when you think about how the deck kind of popped off by casting big X costing draw spells. So the bluff goes like this, that early in the game, he exiles his Drain Life to his Bloom, and that's it. He has no win con now. And his opponent scoops up the game and concedes, thinking that he's now going to combo off, draw more cards, find another copy of Bloom and kill them. Not Bloom, sorry, Drain Life. Find another copy of Drain Life and kill them. But this is a story that is regaled supposedly by Mark Rosewater back in the day. And Gavin says in the article from 2011 that he went back and rewatched all the footage that was on YouTube. And this doesn't actually happen. But it's a similar thing. Mike has actually sideboarded out his one copy of Drain Life. This was confirmed by Patrick Chapin to Gavin before he wrote this article. So he sideboarded out his only win condition. It's quite common in Magic that someone casts Natural Order in Commander or Legacy and go to get their Crater Hoof, and you're like, oh fuck, we're all dead. But you should sometimes check that your opponent has a Crater Hoof in their deck and they're not bluffing, or that they haven't had to pitch into their graveyard early in the game, or it's stuck in their hand and they can't grab it with Natural Order. This happens quite a bit. You assume you're dead, but sometimes you should just ask your opponent to show you that they've got it, because they might have, through inopportunity, or in this case, sideboarding it out, not have the win con at all. This is a big brain bluff from Mike Long, and a really interesting instance of it as well. Some people might think it's kind of cheating, but it's not. It's a bluff. If your opponent makes you play it out, you're like, oh, fuck, you got me. I don't have anything. And Magic's got a lot of bluffing and hidden information in it. It's part of what makes Magic so good. So there's no doubting that Mike Long was evidently a very fucking, big brain player. You might be asking why he sideboarded it out. I couldn't find an exact rationale for it. Again, these are old articles that I'm digging through. I believe it's to give him more space for interaction and other effects that allows him to get to the end win game situation, right? Or to stop his opponent from doing things like balancing him. This is the old west of Magic. But the point is, that's some big brain 4D thinking. Not quite as 4D as the next bit though. One MTG The Source user describes this: the bluff wasn't a cheat. However, the card glued to the bottom of the chair was. Now, the card wasn't actually theatrically, or rather wonderfully fucking glued to the bottom of the chair. It was somewhere on his person. Cadaverous Bloom was a main part of his combo, and one copy of this was found either on the floor after it fell off of him or in his chair, maybe when he sat on the back of it, the fucking weirdo, proving that he had stashed a copy ready to be palmed into his hand in order to win later. This is literally the oldest card cheat in the book. An ace up your sleeve. If you're a modern player, a Splinter Twin up your sleeve. If you're a Pioneer player, one Nota up your sleeve. If you're a Standard player, I don't know, some sort of obnoxious Planeswalker or 5-mana mid-range threat that you can't beat. He'd hidden a part of the combo on his person to be palmed to hand later on in order to make it more consistent. It's like a free tutor. And all the cases in this game that we've talked, in this video that we talked about, are all cheats, but this is the most overt one. Part of the reason I wanted to include it, one, the old school nature of all this shit, but two, of how fucking brazen that is. And also, the really interesting thing is the reaction to it. This happened in the last round of the tournament before they cut to top 8, and he simply got a game loss. He'd already won all his rounds up to this point, probably through similar cheats or other cheats. If he's cheating like this, he's probably cheating all over the fucking shop. Look how he sits on chairs, for fuck's sake. He got a game loss and then went on to top 8 the event. He then went on to come second in the event and win the Invitational that year as well. Crazy. Watanabe had his Hall of Fame stripped from him, and probably rightly so, to be honest. And back in the day, Mike Long just got a slap on the wrist. The fun thing is, if you look back through all the urban legendizing and mythologizing of all this shit, you can't figure out exactly what happened. Some people say it was on his lap, some people say it was under his leg, some people say it was on his chair, all sorts of different, and did it fall out, did the judge find it on the chair? There's so many different details. So I want to solidify one consciousness here, okay? From now on, Mike Long hit that card up his ass. He stuck it up his bottom. He pulled that win literally out of his ass. Well, if he didn't get caught and get a game loss for. The wild west of Magic, everybody, where you could sit on the back of chairs and put cards up your ass to try and win a game of Magic. I hope that video was informative and interesting for you. 3 of the biggest cases of cheating in all of Magic. I'm going to do some more of these. The deep diving into them is quite interesting and fun. Hope you found it fun as well. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comment section below what you think. Maybe other examples of famous cheats that you want me to cover in a future video, let me know down below. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Smash that like button and maybe check out the 40k version of this video. It's kind of like the 40k version of this video, except for I don't want to name people. Maybe I should have done. Maybe I should go back and do that in a different video. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.